Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the international webinar series on holistic health, well-being, and sustainable development 2024, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 76 years of independence, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030, as part of awareness and campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India, Sri Research Institute Center for Art, Sciences and Wellbeing. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's commemorations. Today, we are commemorating World Day of War Orphans on January 6, which highlights the array of challenges these orphans face. Globally, millions of children are orphaned due to war, and they are subjected to a life of hardship and emotional and physical neglect. This day was created by French organization SOS Enfants and these presses to raise awareness about the suffering and to better their future. Losing a parent is very difficult, but losing a parent due to war is even worse. UNICEF defines an orphan as a child under the age of 18 who has lost one or both parents to any cause of death. In the wars that took place during the last few centuries, roughly half of the victims were civilians, a number that gradually increased until 2001. As of 2015, there are nearly 140 million orphans globally, including 61 million in Asia, 52 million in Africa, 10 million in Latin America and the Caribbean, and 7.3 million in Eastern Europe and Central Asia, according to UNICEF. Children who have lost their parents in untimely, harsh incidents like war are forced to stay with a surviving family member, or they enter into foster care system and face poor conditions like malnutrition and disease. The emotional and mental stress they endure is unimaginable. Orphan numbers are lower in developed countries, but are much bigger in places that have been subjected to wars and epidemics. Some children, however, lose their parents by getting separated from them during the chaos of war. World Day of Orphans was created by SOS Infants and Distressy, and French organization that works to bring a sense of normalcy to the lives of the children affected indirectly by the wars and conflict. It is held on January 6th annually, and every year awareness programs takes place to give people a better understanding of the plight orphan children are forced to face. So the first orphanage has been in the West, has been the Romans formed the first orphanage with prescribed care for widows and support for all orphans of those killed in military service until the age of 18 in 400 AD. The first charitable institutions that caters to orphans, the Foundling Hospital, is founded in the West in 1741. Thanks to the influence of Charles Loring Brace, foster care becomes a popular alternative to the orphan asylums and almshouses, the rise of foster care in 1800s. The Second World War leaves large numbers of orphans in many countries, with estimates for Europe ranging from 1 crore to 13 crore in 1900s. So, a child who has lost both parents or less commonly one parent through civilian deaths in the war is known as orphan one or war orphan. According to UNICEF, an estimated 153 million children worldwide are orphans. World Day for Orphans highlights the lives the children who were affected by outcomes of the war, aiming for the betterment of their life. So the best gift you can give it to children who have lost everything is a sense of family, love, and any reason to smile. Your presence at your local orphanage or IDP will mean the world to these orphan children. Visit one day, taking gifts, songs, games, or any activities with you and bring some joy to their lives. Every year, programs are held to promote this cause. Attending one could help expand your knowledge on the issue as well as to give more insight into how you can lend your support, find and attend a World Day for War Orphans program today, like us. And this, a lot of organization, orphanages and IDPs require twice as much funding as they already have. Children are usually subject to poor treatment due to insufficient funds. Your donation, no matter how small, can go a long way to making their lives of children better. UNICEF defines single orphans as children with only one parent that has died, and globally, over 80% of the children in orphanages have a living parent. It takes only one parent's death to be a single orphan. Children who grow up in orphanages face a high risk of becoming victims of violence, trafficking, and exploitation, and they are vulnerable. It's 10 times cheaper to care for a child in a family than at an orphanage. Orphanage expenses are very high. According to the UNICEF, an estimated 150 million children worldwide are orphans and they are in the majority. With the number of civilian victims rising steadily in recent conflict, child victims are at high population. They are usually victims of civilian death. While this day focuses on war orphans, it draws attention to all who have been affected by war. We gain a better understanding of how destructive war can be and the loss of it brings. It highlights the devastating effects of war. This day is particularly important for orphans as it tells their devastating stories and shines a light on their needs. Our observation of this day brings them hope and lets them know their cries are being heard. World Day for Orphans seeks to highlight the harsh conditions children left orphaned by war experience. It raises awareness about the poor conditions they are often forced to live in and urges us to take action in any way to improve their well being. Today is also commemorated as Uruguay's Children's Day or Epiphany in Uruguay, which is annually celebrated on January 6th, also known as Epiphany or Day of Child or Dia del Nino. This day focuses on giving presents to children as part of Christmas season. While children receive gifts on Christmas Day in other parts of the world, Uruguayan children receive their Dia del Nino, their son Dia del Nino, the night before little ones polish their shoes and leave them outside expecting the king's presents. On the morning of Dia del Nino, they wake up to find their shoes filled with gifts from the wise men. In the Western world, children are typically given presents on Christmas Day. However, in Uruguay, the gift giving is postponed until January 6th. It is worth of note that the Day of Child wasn't always on the country's calendar. In fact, the rest of the Latin America, January 6th is celebrated as Dia de los Reyes, Day of Three Kings, or Epiphany. This annual Catholic commemoration is marked to commemorate the visit of wise men from the east to the site where Jesus was born, as documented by the Christian Bible in the Gospel of Matthew. However, Uruguay erased Catholic holidays from the calendar because of a unique event in 1990. So there were several significant occurrences before exclusion of Catholicism from the Uruguayan calendar, Under Joseph Battle Y. Ordy's direction, religious instruction in public schools was abolished in 1909. Then the church and the state was formally divided by the 1917 Constitution. A liberal elite won a crucial fight in Parliament in 1919 and eliminated Catholicism from the calendar. So Christmas Day became a family day, Easter or Holy Week became tourism week, and the Feast of Immaculate Conception was renamed as Beach Day as a result of secularization of religious holidays. And as a result, the Da de los Reyes is today referred to as Da del Neo or Day of the Child. On this day, children receive presents from their parents and other adults as well. So religion is removed from the education. Religious education is eliminated from the public schools under the direction of former President Jose Battle Y. Orders in 1909. And Dia de los Reyes is changed to the Day of Child of Dia del Nino in Uruguay's calendar, and Day of the Child is established in 1990. World's Children's Day is celebrated for the first time on June 1st in 1950. International Children's Day is founded by the United Nations Organization in 1954. Although Uruguay celebrates Day of the Child on January 6, Children's Day is also celebrated on August 14 every year. The current president of Uruguay is President Luis Lacalle Pou, and Uruguay is a rich country, is a South American country with the highest average income per capita and the second richest country in South America. So children are light and joy, their precious innocence inspires us to have childlike faith. The Uruguay's Children's Day celebrate a child around you by giving them gifts and spending quality time with them. Not all children are privileged to receive a present during the Christmas and New Year seasons. Give to a child-focused charity to make the season special for at-risk children in underserved communities. On this day, reminisce a little about your favorite childhood memories. If possible, reinvent some of your favorite activities or let your children be part of some experience if you have any. In all of South America, Uruguay is the smallest Spanish-speaking country, which is pretty small. The name Uruguay means river of the painted birds or river where the birds live or the river of the snakes. Uruguay is a country with the highest amount of beef consumed per person. The first ever World Cup tournament took place in Uruguay in 1930. Uruguay has a national drink called mate, a tea made by boiling the leaves of yerba mate plant. It's a national drink. Children are unique, precious, and they bring us joy. This emphasizes how priceless children are and what a privilege it is to have them enter the world. One of the most effective ways of showing love is giving gifts. Children are privileged to receive presents from the people they love the most and showered with special attention. Gifts are an expression of love. This day also creates a time for bonding in families, is an opportunity for families to gather, show love to one another. Today is also commemorated as National Walker Shortbread Day in US, a day to appreciate delectable shortbread. The buttery melt-in-mouth treat is Scotland's best gift to the world. Baked without a living component such as baking soda or powder, the ingredient dessert dense and rustic texture stands out from any other. And recently, Walker Shortbread celebrated National Walker Shortbread Day as well as 125 years of baking all butter Scottish shortbread by offering shortbread lovers the chance to win a year's supply of Walker's shortbread. Originating in the Scotland in the 12th century and benefiting from cultural exchange with French pastry chef, shortbread's original recipe calls for the simple mix of butter in the flour, The flattening of the dough shortens, hence the name shortbread. It wasn't until the intervention of Mary, Queen of the Scots, that the crumbling delicacy gained national prominence. In the 16th century, she refined the recipe and propagated its triangular sizing to match with her preferred petticoat tails. After the introduction of sugar to the United Kingdom, the 17th century shortbread became a sweet biscuit. Best enjoyed with evening tea, we could trace shortbread's cultural footprint back to William Shakespeare's 17th century play, The Merry Wives of Windsor. Walker Shortbread was born when Joseph Walker founded Walker's Company in 1888 by serving a true Scottish traditional treat. Today, his grandchildren and great grandchildren continue the fine baking tradition that he started in the Highlands of Scotland 125 years ago. Their shortbread is still baked as it always has been with only four ingredients, including pure creamy butter, flour, sugar, and a pinch of salt. Walker Shortbread remains proud of being a sustainable business that works on reducing plastic and looks forward to continuing efforts in other areas across the business. When looking at Walker's product range, there is best known and most iconic product, the shortbread finger, and which has a crunchy yet crumbly texture and delicious all butter taste. Walker's fingers will always have 13 holes, a baker's dozen to let steam escape during baking. Walker's range of products comes in distinctive tartan packaging, which provides its Scottish character both inside and outside. It is recognized as a mark of excellence worldwide and a true Scottish classic. Today is also commemorated as National Take a Poet to Lunch Day in US. To show your support and appreciation for their work, poets has been around since long time, and this creative and rhythmic form of literature has been the foundation for things now we enjoy, such as music, including modern. It is dedicated to appreciating poetry by taking a poet to know out to lunch. We cannot accurately track the history. Epic poems were some of the first to ever been written. There are lengthy narrative programs which discuss the extraordinary doings of people in a time beyond living memory. They mostly involved gods or other superhuman forces and gave shape to the mortal universe. This allowed their descendants to understand themselves as a people or nation. Some scholars believe that the art of poetry may predate literacy, with the oldest surviving epic poem, the Epic of Gilgamesh, dating back to as far as 3000 BC. It was originally written in the cuneiform script on clay tablets 1,000 years after that in 2000 BC. The first love poem, Istanbul, was written on a tablet. Other forms of poetry developed directly from folk songs and with the earliest entries in the oldest collection of Chinese poetry. The Shijing being lyrics initially, it was compiled by the philosopher Confucius and is considered to be one of the official Confucian classics. The study of the aesthetics of poetics can be when ancient thinkers found it difficult to determine what made poetry distinctive as a form and what distinguished good poetry from bad poetry. Aristotle's Poetics described three genres of poetry: the epic, the comic, and the tragic. It developed rules to distinguish the highest quality poetry in each genre. Later, aestheticians identified three major genres: epic poetry, lyric poetry, and dramatic poetry. Comedy and tragedy became subgenres of dramatic poetry. National Take a Poet to Lunch occurs annually on January 6th, just as the name implies. Today, you should simply take a poet. You know how to lunch. If you are a poet yourself, then treat yourself to some good food. You deserve it. The earliest known poet who has been recorded is Enheduanna in the West. As the name implies, the day is focused on celebrating poetry by taking a poet out to lunch. Today will be the best time to call up your poet friends and plan a lunch or treat or any poet you know to a great meal. If you are poet yourself, then the day is still for you. Take yourself out to lunch or call up other poet friends for a fun group date. There is no great way to celebrate poetry than by reading it. Dedicate some time to finding and reading any poems that might interest you. There are other ways to enjoy poetry, actually doing the reading, such as attending a poetry reading or an open mic night. This is a great activity where poets and writers get together to read some of the best works. Sit in on one, give them a good chair, and who knows, you might find someone to take on the lunch date. Flying is a poetic slanging match where two poets go after each other in turns with streams of abusive verse. There are poetry dissing matches. Metrophobia is the name used to describe a fear of poetry. Some people fear it. Shakespeare, Khalil Gibran, and Lao Tzu are the three biggest selling poets in the world, bestsellers. The source of poem for Romeo and Juliet is Juliet is 15, but Shakespeare chose to make her 13 in his play. Many of Sir Walter Scott's ideas for his best-selling epic poem, Marmion, came to him while he was on the horseback. Poetry is one of the truest and oldest forms of art. It formed the basis for modern music and the most of the creative writing we know today. An art such as poetry deserves to be celebrated. Poets use poetry and poems to express feelings and thoughts they might not ordinarily be able to. This creative expression is essential to the poets themselves and we, the listeners. Who doesn't love a good old fashioned lunch date? Take a poet to lunch date gives us fun, a creative reason also to do so. Today is also commemorated as National Cuddle Day in the US. Since January has some of the coldest temperatures of the year, it is a great excuse to warm up by cuddling with the closest to you. Plus, if you got a fireplace and cozy blankets, it's even better. The word cuddle first appears in English in 1500s. Temple Grandin, an American spokesman for autism and diagnosed with mild autism, herself invents the hug mission, which helps to elevate the symptoms of his condition, a mission for cuddling in 1992. Cuddling is proven beneficial. University of North Carolina researchers discover that 10 minutes of holding hands and 20 minutes of hugging can reduce blood pressure and heart rate during stressful situations. The world's first cuddle convention takes place in Portland, Oregon in 2015. Many people think that they have to be in romantic relationship to have a cuddle partner. However, this isn't the case. Loyal friends and even furry pets make excellent cuddle buddies. Massages offer very similar benefits to cuddling, such as stress reduction and positive feelings of well-being. It can also be a full-time job in US. You can actually pay someone for a cuddle session. Cuddle clinics are popping up around the US, allowing customers to cuddle with a certified cuddler in a safe, welcoming, and non-judgmental space. After researching relationships for more than 40 years, John Gottman found cuddling is the seventh on his list of top 13 things couples need for a great sex life. It may be physically, it may lead to physical healing. Research has shown that oxytocin, the incredible cuddle hormone, can help regenerate muscle tissue in mice, and researchers suggest this may be also true for humans. Cuddling isn't just comforting for the body, it is also extremely helpful for the mind. Cuddling releases dopamine, a chemical in the brain that helps improve focus and memory. It's good for your health. Cuddling is effective for warming your body and your heart thanks to the oxytocin it releases. This feel good hormone offers tremendous health benefits like giving us a warm fuzzies and reducing aches and pains. Oxytocin also reduces heart disease, lowers blood pressure, and even decreases stress and anxiety. So, no matter when the cuddle up, you are born to benefit these mood boosting side effects. Cuddling with someone enhances your bond with the person, even if you are not verbally communicating. This type of contact help increase feelings of trust, comfort, safety, and reassurance between cuddle partners. These feelings can also remain long after cuddle session is over. Today is also commemorated as National Bean Day on January 6th. As it falls in the middle of winter, it is a perfect excuse to cook a favorite comfort food. The same day as the famous genetist Gregor Mendel died in 1884, Mendel used bean plants and pea plants to develop theories on genetics in plants. So the formation of National Bean Day has to do more with scientific development than how good bean recipes taste. But don't let that deter you from enjoying eating beans on this day. The native tribes of Peru and Mexico cultivate bean crops around 7000 BC. The term kidney bean is coined to differentiate the bean type from other common beans of new varieties in 1551. The English fairy tale about a boy who discovers magic beans appears as the story of Jack Springs and the Enchanted Bean in 1734. Father of genetics, Gregor Mendel conducts research experiments on hereditary using different varieties of peas, two peas in a pod in 1854. Beans certainly aren't the only ingredient in chili, but as any serious chili cook knows, finding the right beans is the key to make or bake your recipe. The first chili cook-off took place in 1967 in Texas, so cooks have had plenty of time to perfect their techniques and find the best kinds of beans to use. And if you like vegetarian chili, beans will be primary ingredient. If chili is one of the most important bean-based foods, which is popular for people to create their own recipes, creating a personalized baked beans recipe is a close second. So don't be afraid to experiment with some baked beans recipes on National Baked Bean Day. Try a few different types of beans or add some ingredients to give your baked beans recipe a unique flavor. And if it helps, you can even sing the magical fruit song with cooking your recipe. Dried beans are great in recipes. They also work really well for creating craft and art projects. For example, you could create a mosaic that includes a variety of seeds and different sizes and color of beans. And this can be a lot of fun for kids, and bean art puts macaroni art to shame, especially on National Bean Day. If you choose to celebrate National Bean Day by trying a few different kinds of beans, you will also have a whole bunch of them to sample. Green string beans, pinto beans, navy beans, black beans, and red kidney beans are among the most popular types of beans grown in the United States. If you are looking to save a bit of money on your food bill, beans are among the most cost effective foods you can eat. And if you are looking for a source of protein that's quite a bit cheaper and than beef or chicken, beans are the answer. A cooked beans weight is between 6% and 11% protein. Some kinds of beans are best served for dessert. Jelly beans are one of the most popular candies around. There's even a chili flavor of jelly beans, and Boston baked beans are great candies too. Even though jelly beans and the candy coated peanuts that make up Boston baked beans aren't the same as traditional beans, they still taste good. So go on and try. And they are also healthy as well, beans. Today is also commemorated as Dry Bean Day in United States, as they are staple food in many cultures because it is packed with nourishment of proteins and complex carbohydrates. The word beans is an umbrella term used for the seeds of certain plant families. There are more than 40,000 varieties of legumes found across the world that are recognized as beans. Many traditional bean recipes are enjoyed across the globe. For Indians, it is rajma, which is comfort served hot with rice. For Americans, it is chili, a mix of spicy and tangy, perfect for a weeknight. Likewise, for the British, it is beans on toast, a go to breakfast often enjoyed with scrambled eggs and sausages. The reason why we celebrate Dry Bean Day is more than just an excuse for gluttony. Beans, especially peas, were used by the father of genetics to study the concept of genes and heredity. The famous biologist and mathematician was Grigory Mendel, and his death anniversary, January 6th, is marked as Dry Bean Day. He made remarkable revelations about hybridization during his study, which formed the basis of many future discoveries in the field. His discoveries give us more reason to proudly enjoy some beans for lunch today and then go for a walk in the park because it's better to release the warm air out in the open. There are many references to beans in our culture, such as children's story, Jack and the Beanstalk, and the catchy nursery rhyme that goes beans, beans, the musical fruit. The more you eat, the more you, well, you know the rest. But so far, coffee beans have been most coveted bean. It was not only the Oompa Loompas from Charlie and Chocolate Factory that traded in cocoa beans. In the Aztec era, cocoa beans were used as a money where 15 beans can buy you a rabbit. Beans were known to be gathered by people in the foothills in the Himalayas before being cultivated or traded like money. The cultivation of beans in Thailand, the rise of bean in 9750 BC. Bean bags arose in Egyptian cultures made of leather pouches filled with actual dried beans. Actually, some of these years may not be, relevant. And this is based on certain references, which are still to be verified. But because 7500 BC, so that is a questionable, but still, based on the references we are giving, subject to verification. Because history, always we have, historical references are always subject to verification and based on few historical records. So the father of genetics, Gregor Mendel's study of hereditary and genetics using pea plants resulted in revolutionary scientific discoveries in between 1856 to 1863. The longest bean pod was recorded in North Carolina, reaching a length of approximately 122 centimeters in 1940s. The common bean is native to the Americas, where it was a staple of native people of Andes and Mesoamerica. North Dakota has been recorded as the highest bean producing state in the US. India ranked the highest in bean consumption in a 2019 study. You can follow your grandma's recipe or ask your father to make a special chili while you take notes. Else, you can ask the universal guide, the internet, for help. Either way, it's a perfect to some delicious bean recipes. Beans come in different shapes, sizes, and colors. Excuse the macaroni and use some beans to create children's do-it-yourself art today. Though you might keep finding kidney beans stuck between your sofa cushions for the next few months. There are about 40,000 species of beans found around the world. Find out what grows well in your area and plant some seeds in your yard. Pythagoras preached against the consumption of fava beans because they contained the souls of the dead. Since they were flesh-like, beans contain 21% protein, 71% of complex carbohydrates, which is a source of slow, consistent energy, and only a few percentages of fat. Mung beans, also known as green gram, are the most eaten beans. The mung beans, the average of 20 grams of beans is consumed by people living in the blue zone, while some studies show that beans prolong life by 6%. So green beans for a long life. According to the study, black bean hulls contain 40 times the amount of antioxidants found in white bean hulls. So darker beans are better. Beans can be easily found in any departmental store. They are easy on the pocket and take little effort to cook. Also, green beans are the second most canned foods in the US. Children's stories and nursery rhymes are some childhood memories revolving around the iconic bean. Let's journey down memory lane, magic beans, and musical fruit. It's because of the pivotal work of Gregor Mendel that we know so much about genetics and heredity. So we love knowledge. Today is also commemorated as Apple Tree Day in US to honor the great tradition of growing and cultivating apples across North America. Introduced to the region by colonists in the 17th century, apple farming has been leading the fruit production industry in the US for a century. From cider to pies, the apple is greatly versatile fruit and tremendous health benefits and a mouth-watering taste. Although they don't need an extra marketing, Apple still deserve this annual recognition for being quintessential American fruit found in their homes throughout the year. So mull the cider and fill your homes with sweet aroma as we together to celebrate this great day. Apple Tree Day originally celebrated a 2-century-old apple tree, but as the time passed and the day gained prominence outside of its region of origin, this day transformed into a celebration of apple cultivation and food benefits. Apple trees are rendered with great significance in our culture. Ancient mythology regards an apple tree as a sacred symbol of good health and prospective happiness. Apples are mentioned in the Celtic holy text as a fruit of God. Celtic mythology also highlights the healing properties of apples and the sense of wholeness they bring to the body. Similarly, Aphrodite, the goddess of love, shared a deep association with an apple tree calling in the tree of apple. Americans, of course, cannot be separated from the need to bake an apple pie to mark a happy occasion. Apples are great commercial export for the country as well, generating millions of dollars in revenue every year. Having easy access to an access of nature's candy is a privilege not everyone can enjoy. But thankfully, American orchards will produce apples abundantly for centuries to come. The 21st century depiction of apples has been somewhat tumultuous, from the fad diet culture to clamoring to eat one apple a day and nothing else. Let's come together on January 6th to establish the true scientific benefits of apples. Apples are harvested in the September and October in US. The harvest soon is preceded by the full blossom that takes place from April to July. An apple a day keeps the doctor away was coined by Elizabeth Wright, a 20th century linguist, recorded the Devonian folklore with the words that loosely translate to the phrase. A version of it has been part of common vernacular since the 1860s. However, when a Welsh newspaper printed it in a rhythmic format, apples are packed with fiber and healthy flavonoids that help burn rigidly belly fat. They are also rich in pectin fiber that promotes satiety. Hence, apples complement the process of burning fat, but they do not aid in direct weight loss. Apple Tree Day honors the centuries old tree and that stood through sun and rain and gave the apple food and shelter. The best way to celebrate this day is plant one of your own. It might take a decade, but fruit will be, but sweet will be the fruit. Invite your friends over an afternoon filled with laughter and, of course, apples. Bake a pie, prepare an apple themed charcuterie board, and end the evening with a chilled apple sangria. Though we know apple keeps the doctor away, but really, when was the last time you went for a checkup? January 6th is a perfect day to book an appointment for you for regular heart, liver, and kidney screenings, all in the name of apples. The fall produce of apples is preceded by the summer blossom of luscious pink, white, and yellow flowers. First comes the flower, then comes the fruit. There are more than 7,500 varieties of apple trees producing 85 million tons of apples throughout the year, and there's a wide world beyond Granny Smiths. The apple tree is a part of rose family, which includes almonds, peaches, plums, cherries, and many other seasonal fruits. Apple trees can live as long as 100 years and even longer if they are spared human or natural assaults. So it's a century-long service. Big part of the deciduous trees family, apple trees also shed their golden leaves as fall commences. Apple flavored candy and canned fruits products are everywhere. While they bank on the sweet and familiar taste of apples, they are loaded with sugar and preservatives. Apple Tree Day promotes the consumption of fresh produce over these cheap derivatives. As per the British Journal of Health Psychology, eating apples can boost your mood, pump with your energy, producing a calming effect on your body and increase your happiness. With benefits like this, there is no fruit in existence with as much nutritious value as an apple, from packing tons of antioxidants in each bite to complementing the dessert recipe at every American holiday. Apples are too good to be true, and we come together to renew our love for this amazing fruit. National Take Down the Christmas Tree Day is commemorated today on January 6th, US. So it is a perfect end to season. It is the last 12 days of Christmas and encourages you to finally let go of the holidays and take down your trees and usher in every fun. Just like celebrations, the time you choose to take down your Christmas tree is completely at your discretion. Many people take their downs right after the opening of gifts on Boxing Day, and others leave it up until New Year's Day or even for a while after. However, if you are one of those people who simply can't seem to get around the depressing chore, core national take down the Christmas tree may present you with the perfect opportunity in US. Founded by the Queen of Holidays, J. Shoemaker Galloway, the day is celebrated annually on January 6th. This day is vital in Christmas history as it marks the 12th and the last day of Christmas and is the day of Epiphany takes place. Epiphany is a feast day celebrating the revelation of God, and the Western Christianity, the feast commemorates Jesus' physical manifestation to the Gentiles by the visit of Magi to the Christ child. So it is this day was created to add some excitement to the usually difficult process of letting go of the festive season. So take down your trees and usher in new season. A cut tree can be replanted and it can grow again. This process is called recycle. So recycle your Christmas tree if you can. Although you are allowed to take down your decorations when you deem fit, the official day to take down your Christmas decorations is on January 5th or January 6th, right after 12-day celebration. Traditional Christmas trees usually have a pine or fir origin. Noble fir, Douglas fir, and white pine are some of the varieties used as Christmas trees. So recycled trees can provide much needed shelter for our feathered birds and is a great way to conserve nature. So recycle your tree. In early days, some Europeans used cherry or hawthorn trees as their Christmas greenery. They were once cherry trees. In Ukrainian edition, spiders have always been considered to bring good luck. And in this honor, many Ukrainian families decorate their trees with silver and gold, cobwebs, and spiders. In the 1880s, Germans made the first artificial trees from dyed goose feathers held together with wire and is a bit to offset deforestation. In 1990s, Polish people decorated their trees and hung them from ceiling upside down Christmas trees. According to CNN, your average 6 to 7 foot Christmas tree takes between 8 to 10 years to grow. So they take almost a decade to grow. So a lot of deforestation and taxing on resources. That's why, cutting down a tree again, waiting for the tree, 1 decade is lost. So better avoid this tradition as it is not even mentioned in the Bible and it is not mandatory to have a Christmas tree as part of the celebrations. It is an optional. So in the better interest of environment, better you don't buy Christmas tree every year, or you can use the same tree every year by recycling. At least if you have to have a tree as celebration. A lot of us or a lot of Christians are, especially or those who have erected these Christmas trees are guilty of procrastination when it comes to the particular activity of removing or taking down Christmas trees. And this day gives us motivation to get it done. Taking down a Christmas tree though tasking can be fun, more so when your loved ones get involved. When they do it, it can serve as a great bonding experience and take the stress off you because you don't have to do it single-handed. So recently, on 4th January, World Braille Day was commemorated, reaching with the theme reaching blind and visually impaired persons. Even under normal circumstances, people with disabilities, 1 billion people worldwide are less likely to access healthcare, education, employment, and to participate in the community. They are more likely to live in poverty, experience higher rates of violence, neglect, and abuse, and are among the most marginalized in any crisis affected community. For the visually impaired, life under lockdown has posed several issues in terms of independence and isolation. For visually impaired, the life under lockdown has posed several issues in terms of independence and isolation, especially for people who rely on the use of touch to communicate their needs and access information. The pandemic has revealed how critically important it is to produce essential information in accessible formats, including in braille and audible formats. Otherwise, many persons with disabilities could face a higher risk of contamination due to lack of access of guidelines, the precautions to protect reduce the spreading of a pandemic. COVID-19 has also emphasized the need to intensify all activities related to digital accessibility to ensure digital inclusion of all people. During the COVID-19 pandemic, many good practices have been during COVID-19 pandemic, many good practices have been implemented by the parts of United Nations system to promote a disability inclusive response to the COVID-19 and disseminate information in Braille. In Malawi, the United Nations Development Programme (UNDP) has produced 4,050 Braille materials on awareness and prevention of COVID-19. In Ethiopia, the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights OHCHR disseminated audio, information, and education and communication materials to media professionals and has developed daily versions of educational messages. UNICEF has produced guidance that are Braille is a tactile representation of alphabetic and numerical symbols using 6 dots to represent each letter and number, and even musical and mathematical and scientific symbols. Braille, named after its inventor in 19th century, Franz Louis Braille, is used by blind and partially sighted people to read the same books and periodical. Braille is essential in the context of education, freedom of expression and opinion, as well as social inclusions, as reflected in Article 2 of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. So writing Peace is a manual that invites young audiences to become aware of the interdependence of cultures through familiarization with contemporary writing systems, their history, and their mutual borrowings. It provides a concrete introduction to many writing systems, including Braille. Eye conditions are remarkably common. The World Health Organization estimates that globally, at least 1 billion people have near or distance vision impairment that could have prevented or yet to be addressed. Persons with vision impairment are most likely than those without to experience higher rates of poverty and disadvantage. And not meeting their needs or fulfilling their rights have wide reaching consequences. Vision loss often represents a lifetime of inequality, poorer health, and barriers to education and employment. The Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, adopted in 2006, has advanced the rights and well being of persons with disabilities. The Convention considers Braille essential for education, freedom of expression and opinion, access to information, and social inclusion. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, adopted in 2015, further pledges that no one will be left behind in the aim to ensure that all human beings can enjoy prosperous, fulfilling lives. In November 2018, the General Assembly decided to proclaim 4th January as World Braille Day, recognizing that the full realization of human rights and fundamental freedom relies on an inclusive written promotion. Writing Piece is a manual that invites young audiences to discover contemporary writings through introduction of various languages. Its goal is to make the world appear a little closer and a little more familiar. Writing Piece encourages children ages 8 to 14 to become aware of the interdependence of cultures through familiarization with contemporary writing systems, their history, and their borrowings. The manual contains 24 activity sheets. Each section represents the characters of writing system, an introductory test, and historical background, the word peace and the word hello. So 6,000 years of the advent of writing, what do we know about others, their systems of thought, and the transcriptions of their writing system? How can different writings contribute to a better understanding of the world and our place with it? By beginning to learn about these writings and their fascinating beauty, the manual connects children to diversity, thus opening their eyes in the concept of peace and our awareness of it. Eric Catullin, the author, provided scientific coordination of both the writing piece manual and the catalog for the exhibition. He had a PhD in linguistics with an expertise in language and culture called semio logics, and is associate professor in Broderick's Department of Multimedia and Internet, MMI in short. He is also behind the Pantopy project. He edited the French manual along with Michael Laffin, who then served as the basis for English and Arabic adaptations. The writing piece manual was realized thanks to the generous contribution by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia through the King Abdullah bin Abdulaziz International Program for a culture of peace and dialogue. So with this, we shall end today's commemoration. Thank you everyone for joining us on this wonderful occasion. We request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form, which has been shared in the form of polls. Before you leave the platform. So thank you everyone. See you all tomorrow with the same link at the same time, 6 p.m. with different commemorations. Take care. Good night.